hope we're live. That went a little bit pear-shaped. But if we are live, welcome to the Talkin Kop. My name is Ashley and this is Kev, and we are here to preview the Aston Villa Liverpool game. It is home at Liverpool at Anfield, and we're going to talk about whether or not it's going to be a trick or a treat, as it is Halloween over here. So we shall see. Kev, what are your feelings going into this match? Because the little world of Liverpool, especially on the internet, has been a little bit, on the sad side recently.
Well, away from Liverpool and away from the internet, we've had Halloween. We've had all the trick-or-treaters around. And for 2 solid hours, I was up and down like a yo-yo. And they cleaned me out. They absolutely cleaned me out. Apart from, I've got a little stash. I got a little tiny stash of Snickers bars. Because you can't give kids peanuts. So I managed to keep a little stash of them. But little fuckers clean me right out. Every little bit. Little shits. Although they were cute as well. There was one little kid and he was wearing a little Flash suit. And he was made up because I recognized that he was a Flash. And that was his night was made. So
that's nice.
it is. It's like at the end of the day, football is football, isn't it? At the end of the, it is what it is. Yeah, we care about it and we love it and all that, but at the end of the day, it's a game of football. No, there's no point in people getting all het up and angry and shit in the bed about it. Wait until tomorrow night and then we'll do it.
There's plenty of time for that later.
Yeah. Well, in fairness, that was the point here. Is there anything else on telly at 8:00 tomorrow night? You aren't playing good enough to entice me away from Strictly Come Dancing at the moment.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Die Hard will be out starting tomorrow. What with it being a Christmas movie and all.
God. Tell me in the chat, when is it too early to put your tree up? Because I guarantee you someone somewhere is going to come in the chat tomorrow night and say, someone down the road has put the tree up. 100%.
See, I'm a Thanksgiving person, but, we have Thanksgiving every year. So that's like, tail end last week of November, you get all your stuff up and I don't know, you have your Thanksgiving first and then you do the Christmas stuff. I guess it will be hard if you don't have like a holiday to punctuate between now and Christmas.
Well, see, the thing is, because I've relocated now into our living room, I know that if I could hold my missus off until like the 3rd week of November, I'll consider that as a major win.
That's decent.
That would be the latest in 30 years that she's gone that long. So if I can hold on to the third week of November and you guys don't see Christmas decorations behind me, win-win. Anything before that, I've just said, yeah, okay, you do what you want, love. Anything for a quiet life.
Jonathan in the chat says December 23rd is time enough.
Be a bah humbug.
I have definitely tried to go and get a Christmas tree on December 23rd or 24th. They close. They stop selling Christmas trees on December 24th. So don't wait. I have done that. It's a bad idea.
Oh my God. Chris has said there is a woman who's got hers up in the street. Weirdo. Absolute weirdo. In October.
I mean, is it Halloween themed? Does she at least have Halloween decorations? I don't know. I don't know how to salvage that. I mean, that's go check on her well-being kind of situation.
Yeah, I would. I'd be knocking on the door just to have a little word, Thomas saying, as of tomorrow, the Christmas tunes will be in the stores. Yeah. I mean, I think you'll probably start hearing them after Black Friday. I think after Black Friday.
I think they're earlier than that.
Oh, well, after Black Friday, it'll be full on. I'm just waiting to see, because I know there's a local radio DJ at a radio station down by us, and he starts counting down to Christmas Day. He puts it in July. And he's like, there are so many days left of Christmas. And I swear to God, people just throw their radios out the window, call them every day under the sun. I mean,
that's worse than the transfer window.
Do you know what? That is clickbait for clickbait's sake, and it works every time. But we're not here for clickbait. We're here for Aston Villa.
Oh, jeez. I mean, there's going to be a lot of people looking for clickbait when it comes to talking about this game going forward. I will say that. I've seen quite a bit of it myself. Are you feeling level-headed, or are you feeling like you're in that clickbait rage kind of mode at this point of time? Because, you and I were chatting earlier. I was like, I've seen some folks throwing out Arne Slot has 3 games to sort his career. And I was like, I'm not having it. I'm not having this narrative. I think that it's, it's driven by some radio stations that we know who they are. And it's driven by certain characters on those radio stations that we know who they are. And, you know, I'm really like, that's kind of what's winding me up. Yes, the performances are crap. There's no sugarcoating that, but it's the way that everything's kind of being perceived and put out there by the media that's really kind of doing my head in. And it's making me just turn everything off.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is what it must have been like to be a Manchester United fan for the last half a dozen years, because anything involving Liverpool is a major story. It just is. It's in the same way as Ruben Amorim 3 weeks ago was fighting for his career. You know, he was one loss away from the sack. Anything to do with Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal to an extent, are big news, not just in the UK, but in the global football world. So when we go, you know, losing 6 out of our last 7, it's not just a story in the UK, it's a global football story. And the eyes of the world are going to be on Anfield on Saturday and tomorrow night. That they just are. You know, is it going to continue? Is Arne Slot going to get a grip of it? The notion that he's got 3 games to save his job. The only people who come out with that with a straight face are people who don't know Liverpool Football Club. You know, I mean, you look at how, to the extent that Roy Hodgson had to go to eventually get sacked.
It can get worse, people.
That's the extreme. I mean, I remember we were doing shows the summer that Brendan was due to get the sack. You know, we all thought he's gone in the summer. It has to go. The way that season ended, the wheels had fallen off. We could all see it. And yet they gave him more time. They gave him enough time to try to save something. Arne Slot's in no fear of his job. But that's not to say that he's got an unlimited time. I mean, I think if he was in fear for his job and he was depending, you know, going result to result, you would have seen him throw a big lineup out in the League Cup the other night. He didn't. And he came out in his press conference today and he was, look, this is the choice I had to make. This is what I've gone with. I'm comfortable with it. The outside world can basically do one. You know, it's literally, I'm the manager. It's my job. I'll make the decisions. That's what I'm employed to do. And he is. But at the same time, we were saying just before we came on, we have to see some kind of improvement. You can't keep banging your head against a brick wall, doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. We've conceded 14 goals in the league this season. We've scored 16. You know, so something has to give. You're not going to qualify for the Champions League playing like that.
No.
You know, and that's where we are at the minute. I think, I'm not saying the league is gone. It's too early for that. We're almost a quarter of the way through the season. You know, there's still 3/4 of the season to go. So yeah, it's not great at the minute, but we've seen with Aston Villa. Aston Villa this season started Unai Emery. They looked all over the show. You know, we were there. I remember the end of the first month of the season, we all did a show and we were looking at Aston Villa going, what the hell's going on there? They just couldn't buy a win. And then something clicked. They got players back. Watkins wasn't starting, then he was. And they started to get a tune, and then they started banging out results. And at the minute, what have they won? 4 of their last 5?
They have won 6 of their last 7.
Yeah. So, you know, form is fickle, and it can flip on the smallest little things. It's just about getting a win. Getting a win and trying not to play with one hand tied behind your back by going 1 down or going 2 down. And then everything falls apart after that. How he's managed to use this week is key, because he has thrown all his eggs into the league, and he did sack off the League Cup. There's no getting away from it. He did. But he's got to justify doing that we have to see something tomorrow night in a performance. And I'm convinced no matter who we play against, if we see a Liverpool performance, we'll see 3 points. I couldn't care less if it's Wednesday night or Tuesday night against Madrid or the following Sunday against Man City. If we play to our potential and we put performances in, we'll get wins. And that, I think, is, you have to marry the two at the minute.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting. I was listening to someone from a Villa podcast speak sort of about their team's turnaround. And they talked a lot about how so much of it was mental for them, where, because of the way that they fell out of the Champions League at the very last minute at the end of last season. And then, when they started the season, they were just kind of feeling sorry for themselves, and they didn't have the investment that they thought they were going to have. The signings that they brought in, felt a little bit disjointed and not as exciting as they were expecting, at least as fans. And then they said that the team just sort of echoed that in performances where they were just sort of like struggling to get through games and not really having this collective unity. And I think that, what he was talking about on the podcast was that somehow they got this sort of like, well, it's us against the world mentality going, and they played to their strengths, and they figured out, okay, well, like, we're going to have to put Watkins in up front because like that's how we're going to score goals. We're going to have to get solid, with our, McGinn is becoming one of their most important players. They have to kind of build their team around that rather than, what they don't have. And it was interesting listening to him speak because it kind of made me think about us. And it's like, well, how do we turn our ship around? How do we do something similar? Do we kind of do it in a similar way to Aston Villa, where you're like, okay, well, who are the players in form? What is, what do we really want our spine to look like? And can we get behind that? Do you see echoes there? Do you think that Slot can turn it around? I mean, if Emery can turn it around, I assume that Slot can turn it around.
Yeah, look, I mean, you keep hearing this phrase, they've got too many good players. And it's not just a Liverpool thing. I've seen this with other clubs that go through this. Man City last season are a classic. There was too many good players in that squad for them not to be able to turn it around. And we don't know what they're dealing with behind the scenes. They're never going to come out and be honest about how they're feeling going into work day in, day out. We can only guess. And the second anything is said about that, it's excuses. So that's why nobody talks about it. The other side of it is, look, tactically, there is a big issue. And sides have been playing to it. I suppose the only thing that you could say is Villa don't have a history of being direct. That doesn't mean they can't be direct, but they don't have a history of it. The one thing, as someone said earlier on the chat, they do have legs in midfield. And they really do have 2 sixes, 2 out-and-out sixes. And it looks like, I'd imagine, it's going to be Morgan Rogers playing in the 10. So he can be physical as well. So we have to figure out a way of outnumbering Villa in the middle of the park. And I watched a good suggestion of a formation earlier on. And it was along the lines of a 4-4-2 diamond. And it would allow you to get Florian Wirtz in a 10.
Yeah.
It would allow you to play 2 forwards from out to in up front. It would put 3 men in the middle of the park with 1 sitting and 1 either side of them. And it would allow your fullbacks to do what is naturally their game, is to be attacking. And it would allow them to be attacking in a way that offers them protection of having a midfielder behind them rather than a midfielder ahead of them. Our problem isn't Konate and Virgil winning their headers. They do. I think even in the games that we've lost, they've won the vast majority of their aerial duels in every game this season. The problem's always been around the second ball. Can we get enough players in and around the box to make us pick up the second ball, and not just pick up the second ball, but have a passing option with it? There's no point in someone picking up, like Szoboszlai picking up the second ball and he's got nowhere to go.
Yeah, and we don't want him to go backwards every single time.
Yeah, but you have to have, and you have to have some way of releasing the ball. And if that's sideways to go to a runner up front, be that Ekitike or Gakpo or Ekitike or Salah, whatever combination of 2, it's not really, the way they were describing it, it doesn't really matter what way the forwards play. If they play in a 3, if they play in a 2+1 behind, if they play as 1 up, 1 off, and 1 roaming, that doesn't matter. It's more about retaining possession and dominating the game. I think to do that, you need to have 3 actual midfielders in the middle of the park. But I would argue you need 4 against. Well, Villa. That's what I mean. Florian Wirtz is the 4th.
I think that you're right. I think that is if you look at our weakness, it's midfield. Our middle third tackles in general, bottom of the league out of everyone. that includes Burnley, like the Wolves, all of the teams down at the bottom. We're awful there. And teams are just absolutely dominating us. And I do worry about, you know, the strength of Onana kind of in there with like a Kamara or something like that. If we aren't on it in our midfield, like they'll just run right through us, or they'll just go right over us either way.
Well,
You know, so can we match them up? Because we've looked more solid when we've done that. I think, you know, all of us can look at Florian Wirtz and say, yes, he is contributing, but he's not kind of giving us that solidity that we're looking for in midfield. And I think that we have some midfielders that are fit and able at this point in time to play that role. I would like to see Wirtz given the freedom to go do what he's best at, rather than kind of give him this anchor around his waist where it's like, we constantly need you to come back because our defense is our defense and our midfield is kind of so porous. You know, I think that if we see tomorrow the same 4-3-3, that's where I'm going to start to get a little bit worried.
Yeah. Well, Paul Giovanni makes a point here, and Paul Giovanni's watched the same thing I watched, and it made me think back. Chris mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, and the only reason, and I said it at the time, the only reason I didn't think he would do it is you'd have to sacrifice one of your front three. But at the minute, we almost have to, because we're almost out of games before we're in games. And I saw Paul Dalglish. We should play in a 3-man midfield with Wirtz further ahead, so he can drop in and be the tip of the diamond. He can also connect to the forwards. And that's what I was getting at, and that's what Chris was getting at a couple of weeks ago. The only thing that you're going to do with that is you're going to have to drop one of your front three, because only two can play up top. Wirtz is going to be in the 10. You have to have, and I think the way you do it, Gravenberch will play in the 6. Wirtz will play in the 10. Szoboszlai on the right, and McAllister on the left. Jones is not injured, so the only other way you could do it is if Endo plays a 6 and Gravenberch plays as a left-sided 8. It can work. Don't get me wrong. You know, there's plenty of legs in there. There's plenty of size in there, and you've got the aggression and the aerial.
We're talking about second balls with Endo. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, that's what he's good at. He's good at sweeping up that kind of, because he is aggressive on the ball. You know, I mean, he doesn't have the legs to get about the pitch. You look at the amount of space he's asked to cover if he's playing in a 6 the way we normally play the 4-2-3-1, where everyone's spread wide. He doesn't have the legs to get about the pitch like that. But you condense the middle of the park and ask him to play as a lone 6 with 2 midfielders either side of him and tell him to keep it simple. He can do that, and he's done that all of his career. I'm not saying that that's what will happen. I'm saying that's an option, because Jones isn't available. The only other option is like I said, Szoboszlai on the right, McAllister on the left, Gravenberch in a 6, Wirtz in a 10, and you can play Gakpo and Ekitike up front. You can play Ekitike and Salah up front. Ekitike, if you do that, can drift left and link with the left back. Salah can drift onto the right and link with the right back. You always have that one up, one off with Wirtz and a striker. I just think it's really balanced. And because look, at the end of the day, whatever he's trying to do with this 4-2-3-1 for the last 3 months, bar the odd moments in games, it hasn't really worked for me.
No.
You know, so, and honestly, I throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm just saying, make small tweaks, make the midfield stronger, and give the wing backs that we have at the club. You brought Kerkez in not to build up play. You brought him in because he's an attacking fullback. You know, use him as an
let him be
fullback.
that.
Let him be that. Connor Bradley can get up and down. Let him be that. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was someone in the chat was saying earlier about Endo. Like, do you throw Endo in? And my response was, I don't love that idea because I don't think it's a long-term solution. And what I kind of want to see is something that we can run with for at least 3 games, or at least until the international break. I want to see a structure that, because a lot of the teams that we're going to be playing, you know, are roughly the same. Yeah, they're footballing sides. I want to see something where the the players can start to build a little bit of connection with one another. I think the biggest issue that we've had, along with the fact that our tactical system isn't necessarily working, is that we're chopping and changing while doing it. So, you know, even if you had a system that wasn't perfect and you let the players kind of sit with it for a while, you do that. Or, you know, basically what he's doing is the worst of both worlds. I think I described it in our chat sort of as, you know, he's got 1 foot in one system and 1 foot in the other system, and he ends up with splinters up his ass because it's not suiting the players. So
he's trying to accommodate. He's trying to accommodate. Someone mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't pay it much heed. And looking back on it, hindsight's 2020. The guy made a great point. He's trying to accommodate Salah.
I think so too, because I think that honestly, I think that he's the one player that doesn't fit in the system that Slot actually wants to play.
Yeah.
That being said, if you look at the goal from the Brentford game, Mo Salah was playing where a striker would be playing.
Yeah.
I think he can play there. I just don't think that he's being instructed to play there. You know, but you have this player that you've been given the biggest contract, you know, or the biggest salary that the squad has ever had. You can't necessarily put him on the bench. And I think that it's true. I mean, I don't think that you bench Salah necessarily, but I think that's what's happening. I think that he's trying to kind of keep him in the team. And I guess the question, you know, that nobody wants to ask is, does Salah and making him happy outweigh putting all of these other players in positions that don't suit them?
No,
I think the result that we're seeing is no.
Look, we'll find out tomorrow night at 8:00. But at the end of the day, he's had a full week to prepare for these 3 games. And the one thing I suppose you can say, Villa will build out from the back. It's because they've done it also. They did it against Man City, for fuck's sake. And they're one of the best pressing sides in the league. So he's not going to change just because he's going to Anfield, and given the form that we're in, just because sometimes we look shaky, losing second balls high up the pitch. Even the goals that we've conceded, long throw, you know, a counter,
dodgy clearance,
and exactly. It's not as if it's a constant thing. It's just, and Slot made the point in his press conference: 16 set pieces we faced, one way or another. Against Brentford.
Defended 15, and
exactly.
we got one against us.
And we got caught in the first one, and nobody. It's trying to drill into the players as well, not to shit the bed when someone gets a corner, because
or if someone scores against us. Exactly,
and that's got to be difficult, because no matter which way people, you know, are constantly reminded, and we're saying, you know, these are the champions, the title-winning side from last year. The bulk of that side ain't there anymore. This is a brand new side. You know, it's got some of the experienced players from last year, but there's been an awful lot of upheaval, and an awful lot of players are coming into a club the size of Liverpool and having to do this for the first time.
And they're not like for like players either. Like, no, which I think
they're younger.
I think it was interesting. Again, I've had conversations with people, especially for some reason, Bournemouth keeps being brought up. I think obviously Hughes used to work there, and, you know, I think Ariel is a great coach. And I was talking to someone about this, saying, you know, well, why does it work for them, but it's not working for us? Why can they churn so much and we can't? And obviously the levels are different between the two teams, but another difference is that they're bringing in like for like players. They're not switching their system while they're doing it. And we're trying to do both at the same time. And I feel like that's where the gears are really, really grinding, where it's too much churn. It's too much change. And if Slot is trying to kind of go back to last year's system, we don't have the players to do it. We just don't.
No, we don't. And look, the one thing you could say, I suppose, Hugo is going to be playing tomorrow. All right, look, what would your lineup? What would your lineup be for tomorrow? Or what? All right, what's Ashley's lineup? And what lineup do you think we'll see?
Okay. What I would do tomorrow, I think obviously goalkeeper is, you know, it is who it is. For the sake of trying to gain a little bit of momentum and get a clean sheet, controversially, I'm going to say Robertson at left back.
That's not
I'm
controversial.
Okay, well, maybe not. I'm going to put Virgil and Konate, and then I'm going to put Bradley. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I think that Virgil is coaching Konate half of the time that he's playing the game. And I think that right now I want him 100% focused, and I want him to know what's going on his left and be like, I know you. I know what you're going to do with my eyes shut. I don't want you coaching, because he's also coaching Marmadashvili behind him. He doesn't have Allison. He doesn't have that same kind of safety net. And you know that Virgil's going to try to be Virgil, try to be the captain, and try to do all of that. And I honestly think it's destabilizing the back. I think Kirkes is the way forward, but for right now, I want to see Robertson there. I also think that he has the ability to drop into a back three in a way that Kirkes doesn't. And I think that it lets Bradley bomb forward if we are, and I'm going to suggest doing two at the front, have Bradley be that person that gives the width on the right. So then going into midfield, I think Gravenberch is your 6. I think you have, I think he's going to go McAllister and Szoboszlai kind of right in front. And then what I would do is I would put Wirtz at the tip of the diamond, and then I would pick either Gakpo or Salah as your starter next to Ekitike. I think that you could, I think I don't know what I would do actually, because I think that you want to have someone off the bench. And I think that Gakpo is more of an impact sub, but in the moment, Gakpo is also our in-form striker. At Anfield, he's actually fantastic. So I'm torn there. That's what I would do. Well, that is not what I think he's going to do.
I think Gakpo has got 17 goal involvements in his last 17 home games. Yeah. So for me, I think, look, I would go Mamardashvili, Bradley, Konate, Virgil, Kirkes.
Okay.
And toss a coin. Don't care who plays left back, because I think they can both do the same thing. I think going up and down, bombing up and down, I think they'll both do similar. I think Robertson's better on the ball. I think his build-up play is better. He's got the ability to see passes better than Kirkes, but I think Kirkes got a brilliant delivery from wide when he's asked to.
If he's allowed to do what he, I don't want Kirkes sitting.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Robertson sitting if that's what Slot wants from his system.
Yeah, exactly. Let Kirkes develop in time. It's not a mad rush with him.
Look at how Robertson was dripped into the team by Klopp. Yeah. We can do that with Kirkes. He'll rotate. There's 3 games that are coming up. He's going to have to play one of them.
Yeah, see,
and Bravo's going to have to play one of them on the flip side.
This is the kind of nonsense bullshit I get sick and fucking bored of. Standards have really lowered if Gakpo is being considered good form. If you're scoring
or assists, 13 goals and 4 assists in his
last 17 games. So, build a bridge and get the fuck over it and get off your fucking hobby horse.
I understand that he doesn't look flashy. And I know that he's not Mane. He's not the winger that we want him to be. But
his goals and assists tells you
he's at least contributing.
His goals and assists tells you he's as good as anything that Mane has produced. Because he just is. He gets goals.
I think he just looks different on the eye. I don't think he's as flashy.
On the eye. Well, of course he's not. He's not that. But at the end of the day, everyone's got to have an agenda and everyone's got to have a hobby horse. It's either Curtis Jones, it's Gakpo, it's Kirkes. He's got to have someone to blame it on. So it's Gakpo this week. Gakpo scores 2 tomorrow night and he's the hero again. It's bullshit at the end of the day. But
it's okay. We can agree to disagree.
But I would play the midfield 3. I really would. I would go with Gravenberch, McAllister, and Szoboszlai. And I would play Wirtz in a free role. But off the ball, I want him dropping into right midfield.
Okay.
Like we did at Frankfurt, because I think you can take the parallels from how Frankfurt built out from the back. How Frankfurt built out from the back. But I want him drifting in and being that free role, arriving into the middle of the park to receive the ball, rather than receiving the ball with his back to play, turning to make shit happen. And it kind of defeats the purpose. You don't want him standing still receiving the ball. You want him arriving onto the ball. And if you link him with Szoboszlai, then I think that partnership needs to evolve. They're just really good players. They're different, but they can definitely play together, and he can definitely work in the half spaces, Florian Wirtz, because he's got a knack of finding them, and it frees that side of the pitch for Bradley on the attack, and it also gives him cover on the defense. Up front, I would play with Gakpo and Ekitike.
Okay.
I wouldn't start Salah. Right, I would use Salah maybe on the hour, because if Isak has got a groin injury, then we're not going to see him in any meaningful way, I think, until after the international break. You don't clear up a groin injury in a few days.
I mean, this is that groin injury that he has consistently, though.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, there have been times at Newcastle where it's like he has a groin injury one week and it's fine the next week.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how serious that is, to be honest.
Tommy's got a fair point. His link-up play through the 9 is brutal. It is.
It is. He also sucks at, considering his height, he's not as good at, aerially as you want him to be. There are definitely weaknesses. He's not the best player in our team.
But
at the moment, we don't have that many to choose from.
Yeah, but here's the thing. If you ask him to play as a 9 and you use Ekitike as your link man, which is what Hugo is good at, do you remember going back when Man City signed your man from Frankfurt? Marmouche, yeah. You saw how they linked up, Marmouche and Ekitike, where they both kind of dropped and one went, one didn't. They built up that relationship. Hugo is definitely the kind of player who could drop and link with Wirtz and use Gakpo as the one who can run in behind us. The one thing with Villa as well, you watch their highlights throughout the season. They don't defend deep. They will leave space in behind for you to run into if you can play the right ball, if you can find the right pass. I wouldn't mind having... And look, you could toss a coin between Gakpo and Salah. I just think if you play 2 up front, 1 up, 1 off, with Wirtz in a free role, you'll get joy out of this Villa side. Even against Man City, the amount of times that City almost had Haaland through, they do like to play offside. If you time the one way...
Well, they have that kind of mid-block, and I think that's where Ekitike will actually do really well. And it's kind of why I lean toward Gakpo, just because I think that Salah's pace isn't there. And I feel like, if you look historically back, I think Nunez used to give them a torrid time.
Yeah.
And if you could kind of emulate like the good part of Nunez, if that's possible, where, he's really kind of torturing their back line. I think Ekitike can do that. And I think Gakpo can do that like a little bit more than Salah can, just from lack of pace.
It's not so much that you don't have to make your runs from the centre backs.
No.
You make them deeper. And the other side of it is, if you're playing with a 3-man midfield that don't get ahead of the ball, they're constantly there to put pressure on the ball when you lose it. And you will lose it. It allows both your fullbacks to go at the same time. Kirkes can get up and down the line. He can put crosses in, because the amount of times I was watching, even when we were playing the other night, and I know it was a 3-4-3 and it was a different system, what have you, and he was playing as a left mid, not a left back. The amount of times he picked his head up to put a cross in, there was nobody there, because Chiesa was dropping so deep that he couldn't get back up to play. If Hugo does that against Villa, and he's a lone striker and he drops deep, and the ball's out wide, Villa's centre-backs are going to sat there with a cigar and deck chairs because they know the cross isn't coming. But at least if you have 1 up, 1 off, if you have Gakpo looking to make runs in behind, like Isak did against Frankfurt, it didn't flash lights and it didn't get headlines or anything like that. But the amount of little shot runs that he made up and down that line to keep those centre-backs honest allowed Ekitike to drop and turn in space, because they couldn't follow him out because Isak was constantly on their toes. I'm sure Salah can do that as well. He's had a week to work on something, and I hope it's along those lines, because I know Frankfurt were tailor-made for us, and defensively they're poor, but that was hands down easily, for me, the most effective performance I've seen from us this season in an attacking sense and a defensive sense. And I
want to build off of it. I understand that how the opponent plays obviously plays into how he sets up, but there also is a point where you come up with something solid and you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to return to. Yes, we'll make some adjustments based on the opponent, but like, this is what we return to. You know, and I think the interesting thing is, you know, Slot has he's been a self-proclaimed 4-3-3 coach, even though, you know, people will tell him, you know, actually, it looks like you're doing this, or it looks like you're doing that. You know, it's like, is he going to depart from that? Because one of the things he was asked today in his press conference was, you know, do you think that you can adapt based on the fact that, you know, there are certain weaknesses in your team? And, you know, granted, he was being asked specifically more about defensive partnerships and dropping Joe Gomez back into right back. You know, his response was basically, that's not really my style. That's not what I like to do. I can do it. We did it against City last year, but it's not something I like to do. And it's more of like an occasional thing. So it does make you wonder, you know, just how stubborn is he going to be going forward? That's my biggest question tomorrow is, and even if he is stubborn with that lineup, like, what are the tweaks that he's making? Because it can't be the same as what we saw last week.
My biggest fear is, and stubbornness has sacked more managers than any other reason ever in the history of football. Stubbornness has sacked more. My biggest fear is we see a 4-2-3-1 with Mamardashvili, Bradley, Konate, Virgil, Kirkes, Gakpo. Gakpo on the left, Salah on the right, Hugo up front, Verts in the 10.
And probably McAllister.
It'll be Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai is a second six, and I think Villa will run off Szoboszlai all night long in that position because he'll vacate it. It's not a six in the true sense of you have two sixes next to each other. Like Villa will have Onana and Kamara next to each other, and one of them will occupy Florian Wirtz. The other one will look to sweep up everything that's coming into it. And we don't play a 4-2-3-1 in the same way. Villa will line up in a 4-2-3-1, but we don't play it in the same way. We almost play a 6, an 8, a 10, and it's kind of like that.
It's a 6, an 8, a 10, but the 10 doesn't have any sort of defensive responsibility, and neither does Mo Salah.
Exactly.
Neither does Gakpo. Neither does Ekitike.
Yeah.
So you end up with basically no one in the front half of the pitch.
Yeah. It's 5.
That is essentially what makes that system work, is if you have, I mean, we've talked about this before, if you have like press demons in the front of the pitch, like that's how that system works. That's how Klopp got that to work. If all of those players aren't pressing, it's no wonder that we look so defensively weak in the back. Like, Virgil's still the same Virgil. I'm convinced he hasn't fallen off a cliff. No. And Ibu is poor, but he's not as poor as he's looking right now. I think what's happening is, like, the way that we are failing to defend from the front is leaving them incredibly exposed.
Yeah,
like incredibly exposed.
Yeah, you end up with 5 forwards, 5 at the back.
Yeah, and there's just a massive kind of
it's just
parting
space
of the Red Sea in the middle.
It's huge space, and you can't defend space. The one thing when you're defending, you have to make the pitch as small as possible. And then when you're attacking, it's like a fist in a flower. Defending, you want the pitch like that, and when you're attacking, you want it to open up. And it's timing everything around it. I think we need to get back to having a solid defensive shape and build from there. Mm-hmm. You can't keep going the way we're going, conceding the bones of nearly 1.4, 1.5 goals per game, scoring 1.7. That gets you involved in basketball games and tennis matches, and it's just a nonsense. You'll achieve nothing with it. He has to see this. My biggest fear is that he's stubborn and he sticks to his guns and say, this is how we're going to play. And then I think the players there's a possibility the senior players will go, what the hell's going on here? They're not stupid. They know what it takes to win. And if he's sending them out with instructions to do something and it's not working and he's refusing to change, he's creating. He's already built this game up because of his decision the other night in the League Cup to something that, there's massive pressure on it already by his own decisions, and the players will know this. So, and Anfield will know it. I mean, someone said earlier, is there a possibility that the fan? I think it might have been Steve actually put something in earlier on. How long? What is it here? He said, how many more games would we have to lose before we start hearing the boos? I don't know.
I think honestly,
it's more the performances.
If you lose these 3, I think you could be there already.
The only thing I'd say to that before I'm
not saying that's logical.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think that fans are illogical.
I think we could seriously play really well against Villa, Madrid, Man City, and lose all 3.
They're good teams no matter what, but we do need to see a performance. If you see the first half against Palace, then you could see boos tomorrow.
Oh yeah, you could see it at halftime. If we go and turn in a performance that we did at Palace, and you're 2 down at halftime, I expect it to be. I would expect to hear it.
Well, you also the fans are a huge part of Liverpool. And they will make their voices known if something is not going right. That's something that they've always done, and it's part of the power of Anfield. They are the 12th man, and it's one of those things. If we see what's going on, surely Slot sees what's going on. Yes. But if he's not addressing it, you just build up this frustration. You're like, what the actual F are you doing?
What are you doing? You've had a week. It's rare enough. And the one thing I suppose, now that we're out of the League Cup, he will get a few more opportunities.
Not many, because it's not that many games that we lose.
What they got? 4th round coming up is the 3rd week of December. Then
Palace got screwed with 4 games in 8 days.
Yeah, that's the price of success. We've been there. We've had it. We've had to play 2 games in fucking 48 hours before it happens. True. But Tommy makes a point here. I don't think he'll change shape. Salah definitely is starting.
So let's go through your starting lineup, Kev, that you would like, and then what you think is going to happen.
All right. Managerial, Bradley, Konate, Virgil, Kirkes. I would put Gravenberch in a 6, McAllister and Szoboszlai either side of him, Wirtz in a 10, Ekitike and Gakpo up front. What I think will happen is very similar shape to what we saw against Frankfurt, with Wirtz arriving into the 10 but defending in a right mid position. Salah coming across from right wing to off the ball being a striker. Hugo dropping into the 10 and almost like a 4-4-1-1 off the ball with an attack, more like a 3 at the back with full back going and a mishmash up front, because they'll look. Well, no, what I mean.
Sounds so optimistic.
No, but what I mean by that is they'll just attack in a free form, but when they lose the ball, they'll all press, and they'll press like lunatics. Because the one thing after the Frankfurt game, you even saw it in the 80th minute. I'll never forget it. Robertson chasing and harassing and pressing and winning a throw in their final third in the 80th minute. So I expect that kind of level of aggression in the press to get at Villa, because Villa will try to break it. They managed it against City and got through City a few times. And I watched the highlights back of that one tonight. That could have been a 3-3. Matty Cash scored from not a set piece as such. City failed to clear the corner. He got the ball on his right, took a touch in onto his left, low, and Donnarumma had no chance with the shot. So it was the one goal from a second ball from a set piece that won it for them. But that game could easily have gone either way in a high-scoring game, just for the amount of chances that both sides had. Villa will give you chances, but they will create chances. They've got good players. Watkins has found a bit of form. They're in good form at the minute, but you said there when we came on, was they've won 4 of their last 5 in the league, but mainly against sides bar. I suppose they beat Spurs away.
Yeah, so their recent results.
Yeah.
Going from soonest first. So they had a 1-0 versus City. They lost 2-1 away against Go Ahead Eagles. Then they won away 2-1 to Spurs. They beat Burnley 2-1. That was at home.
Yeah.
They beat Feyenoord 2-0. That was away. And then they beat Fulham 3-1. That was back in September. So
yeah. I think they've only scored 9 goals in the league.
They don't score a lot, but they also don't concede a lot.
Exactly, yeah.
I think in general, I don't expect this to be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be tight. I think that my big thing for tomorrow is, can we keep a clean sheet? Because if I look back to maybe how we set up against Arsenal, like, it was a little bit conservative.
Yeah.
But we looked solid there. And, maybe we were playing for a draw. And yes, it was a wonder strike that won us that game. But maybe that's what we need. Like, I know that that's not going to be exciting to fans. And I know that nobody's going to be excited to hear me say that. But maybe we need to start from that. Because Slot had said, like he said himself, we're creating enough XG going forward. Like, in terms of goal scoring, we're still up near the top.
I think we're at the top. We're at the top from open play.
So in general, that's not the problem. The problem is the fact that we're shipping all these goals the other direction. So if we can really nail that down, like, at least you start with a point. If you you start with a point and you give yourself a chance. The biggest thing is don't go down early, because we're just giving ourselves this mountain to climb every single fucking time, and it drives me nuts.
Scores have been coming in there. Riddo's gone 2-1 Liverpool, Salah and Ekitike.
Okay.
O'Shea's gone 2-1 Ekitike, Szoboszlai and Watkins. Bonkers has gone 1-0 clean sheet. Happy days.
I love that.
Yeah. Fasta Tortoise 1-2 Villa. Gakpo getting our goal. Look.
It's possible.
It's all possible. It is all possible.
No one's going into this like filled with confidence.
No, you can't. Unless your name's Mitch and you're going 3-0 Gakpo brace with Virgil getting the third. The one thing I think you can get at Villa with set pieces.
Which is my favorite.
Yeah. They do concede a set piece goal, but the thing is, I think the best way you can get at Villa, and I think you really can get at Villa, is winning the ball and turning it over and going quickly. The counter attack.
I think Ekitike on the counter.
Yeah,
it's always on. That's your biggest threat. Like that goal he scored, granted, I don't think it'll come from as deep as that Frankfurt goal. But if we can do that, I think that's where we can get at them.
Sam's gone 3-0. Verts with 2 and Salah. Tom Boland's gone 1-1. Not a bad result. Spencer's gone 1-1 or 1-2 to Villa. This is what I mean.
So out of curiosity, just thought experiment for the chat and for you.
Yes.
Would you take a draw?
No, never take a draw against you again. Not at Anfield, not at home.
Okay.
I wouldn't take a draw against anyone. I mean,
so but you wouldn't feel like
it depends.
I mean, I don't want a draw at all. But just to clarify.
No, I know.
Is there any part of you that's like, just stop the rot and just like a 0-0, for example? Like if you got a 0-0, you had a clean sheet, would you consider that progress, or is this just like absolutely there's so much pressure on tomorrow, it has to be a win?
I think scoreboard pressure plays a massive part in it. See, what are we 7 off Arsenal?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not out of the realms of possibility right now. We've come back from 8.
No, I know, but it's. I think if you get into double figures,
I know
you're goosed. But it's not so
much. We're not even
that.
in the top 5 at the moment.
Yeah, it's not so much that. It's like
we're 7 off.
They need a win. They do. They need a win, and I think they need it doesn't have to be a convincing win, but I don't want us to be, in fairness, like Villa were against City. where they got a 1-0 and they scraped it. But at the end of the day, they'll look, the scoreboards, it's a 1-0 win against Man City, great. But in truth, it was one of them that City really should have won it. They had enough chances to win it. They'll take more confidence from their win against Spurs because they went 1-0 down, they come back and they won it and they were convincing. So it's, I think we just have to see a bit of conviction in our play and defend solidly. If you defend solidly and you give yourself a base to build from, there's plenty of goals in that side. We will get chances. I've no doubt in my mind. It's keep the clean sheet and give yourself a chance to say that one goal is enough. I'd love a convincing 1-0. I'd love us to go and get a goal, attack, create chances. If we score, fantastic, and run away with it. But I want us to be able to get a clean sheet, come on tomorrow night after the match, and we absolutely fucking deserve that, and it could have been more, but we look solid.
Mm.
Performance.
It's all about a performance.
Yeah. It's all about the defensive solidity. And the other thing is, Gravenberch's coming back. It was an ankle knock, so it wasn't as if it was a hamstring or a muscle or anything like that. It was an ankle, so he should be matched. He should be fine.
He said he was fine. He said he was feeling confident.
Yeah, you saw put
yesterday.
That
he trained today. Yeah, I don't have it to throw up in the chat, but he said, that he's trained regularly and he expects to be ready. And Slot said that the other two, Allison and Isak, not fit to play. So I don't think there's any chance that even Isak makes the bench. Speaking of the bench, just before we go, one of the things that's been brought up in kind of the discourse recently this week is Slot's substitutes and the way that he has been throwing forwards on sort of willy-nilly at the end of matches to try to win games. Is that something, obviously it's not something you want to see, but let's say the game is still 0-0 going into 60 minutes. Do you want Slot to stick with the team that he sets out with and the tactics and trust them? Or do you want him to kind of continue with this at 75 minutes, we just kind of go helter-skelter, hell for leather, try to win, and maybe we lose on the counter?
I'll tell you what.
What would you prefer?
I want to... The thing is, you throw the kitchen sink at it, and he's not throwing them on 75. He's throwing them on 60.
I know. I'm just...
But no, I'm just saying... Number. But if you're doing it when he's doing it, you're throwing the kitchen sink at 60, 70 minutes, that's nearly 25 minutes, sometimes a half an hour of football left to go.
Yeah.
With injury time, the odds are we're getting injury time 5, 8, 10 minutes sometimes. You've got a lot of football left to play. Trust your players to do what you set them out to do. And the worst thing you can do with anyone, whether you're coaching under 12s or senior Premier League side, you vacate the midfield and throw on forwards and ask forwards to come back and be your midfielders. Just forget about it.
We got to the point where we were asking midfielders to be defenders and then the forwards to be our midfielders. Like, we completely vacated all of our defensive structure with Chelsea. Like, for me, there's someone in the chat that's like, Pete says that's been the most exciting type of football we've played. It's exciting, but it's suicidal.
It's horrendous.
It's one of those things that, you can get a late goal going forward, but odds, like, you're literally flipping a coin.
You do that on the 85th minute for
me. You can't keep doing that. And I think it's one of those things that it's become a bad habit. And I don't know. I'd rather see Slot really trust what he's drilled this week. Yeah. And give them until 85 minutes. And I might eat my words tomorrow. I don't know, but I wanted to trust them.
If you have to flick the switch and you flick it between 80 and 90 minutes, you've got, say, 85 minutes to 95. You've got 10 minutes. You've got 10 minutes to throw the kitchen sink at it. How many times have we got back into games and lost to trying to win it?
Well, that's my issue. You have, whether it's Palace, or Chelsea, you have games where, maybe you salvage a point and maybe that's good enough. And if we had done that 2 or 3 times, maybe we wouldn't be feeling so in the doldrums right now.
We wouldn't, because if you sat there and look, it's a point against Chelsea. Yeah, fair enough.
Whatever. We always kind of get a point away against Chelsea. That's just sort of part and parcel of what happens there.
Palace or a bogey side, take a point. with the way that game went, take the point and go home. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. If the game, you've watched enough football to know those games where you're just like, yeah, we'll get our point here and we're getting out of Dodge. Sometimes you try to win it and you do. And the feeling is great. We fucking love it. But it's the biggest kick in the stomach you'll get is when you get yourself back into it and then you throw it away. So, you have to judge the situation that we're in. We desperately need to get something out of this game. And if it's only going to be a point, get the point.
Get the point. Yeah. I'm not arguing for a draw. No. I'm just saying, like, I would rather tomorrow, if it's 85 minutes, throw Endo on than throw Rio on, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, the chat's been good tonight. Arda won't change anything. He said that. He kind of did, but then he turned around with...
He talked about Joe Gomez, though. That was specifically what he was talking about.
Yeah, he was. But he also turned around and said, when situations demand it, that he's flexible. And you saw it to a good and a bad effect. Last season, away against PSG, he tried to change it and be defensively solid. You saw him doing it last season against Chelsea. Defensively solid and compact and played them on the break. Gave them the ball. Man City did the same thing. There are horses for courses games that he's willing to be flexible on. He doesn't like to do it as a general rule because I think more and more sides are going the way that Arsenal have gone now, playing 3 centre-backs, playing 4 centre-backs at the back, playing centre-backs at left back, centre-backs at right back. To be that defensively solid and have an aerial threat in set pieces in either box. And you understand the logic of it when Arsenal are top of the table. And you're seeing what Newcastle are doing when they're playing Dan Burn at left back because he gives you that option. He's defensively solid. He's not being asked to go and bomb down the line. They play with a back 3 off the ball. And in set pieces, when they're attacking set pieces, you've got 3 big centre-backs and Voltemada as your big option as well. So you understand the logic of it. But at the end of the day, we've got 4 centre-backs. We can't do that. Not with Leo.
4 center-backs.
Well, yeah, but not with Leone out for the season. So we can't do a Joe Gomez at right back because it's just not going to happen. So there's no point even entertaining that kind of a notion because it's just not there. I mean, I've seen some of the chat earlier on, and I don't know where it's coming from. Liverpool apparently in for
Schlotterbeck.
No, Anton Semenyo. Don't know who's
coming from Indy.
Is it
coming from Indy?
Yeah, look.
I mean, it may be coming from someone else, but Indy was the one that was throwing that out there. He also said that McAllister might be off to Real Madrid, and that there's like 4 different things that he said. Yeah. So
this is the kind of thing.
Take whatever you want with the grain of salt.
This is the kind of thing that happens at this time of year when you throw enough noise out, and then 3 months later, if something happens, you get a quote tweet saying, "See, we told you." You never get the quote tweet saying that
there is an archive of all those tweets that they can pull back from.
Yeah,
where they're like, "See, I told you so."
Yeah, you never get the dozen that didn't happen, but you'll get the one that he predicted did. Look, that's just the game.
Yeah, I mean, he's a player that I'd like. I think everyone in the world thinks he's on form, and I would love another winger. So
I would love him anyway. Full stop.
Yeah, I mean, but again, it's like I don't know what our system's supposed to be. I don't know if he's going to suit the system in the future. I don't know if he wants to do a 4-3-3 in the future. And
that's it.
Does he fit with Ekitike and Isak in the future? So again, we have to kind of see.
Well, Fast Tortoise there makes a good point. Would Semenyo want to come? Given the situation where the club is at the minute, odds are we're in transition. Look like we're not stable in our system or setup.
It's Liverpool, though. I mean...
Yes, it's Liverpool, but I guarantee you he's attracting interest of every top club in Europe. So
I get that. But also, you have someone like Mbeumo or Cunha going to Manchester United, and they're like, I can be the savior. You can be the savior coming here, too.
Yeah, this is the other one. Maka to Madrid has always been on the cards as a rumor. Yeah, it's one of if you're Real Madrid, I think
he makes sense there. To be honest,
he makes sense at the right price, and I don't think we would be selling him at any price in a January window. I think it's a kind of a
And
deal
not
that,
unless there was someone coming in.
exactly. If you're looking to do a deal for Wharton or someone of that ilk, a Baleba maybe, if you're looking to bring in someone who's going to come in as your six and start next to Gravenberch, then you could see something like that happening. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool are in the market in January for someone.
I
Whether
feel like
it's
you gotta bring in someone.
whether it's a centre back or a six.
Center back six. I mean, I could make an argument for a winger as well.
Yeah, but I
don't think that they would be the one that would save the season, though. But that being said, I don't know. If we had the option, for example, of bringing in Kvaratskhelia in this January, like we did last January,
yeah,
absolutely bite your hand off for that.
That's the thing. It's a case of who's going to be available and who's going to be on the move. We'll see. I mean, look, January is 2 months off. I can't remember whose press conference I was watching, and they were on about. There was a manager being asked about the January window. It's like it's November tomorrow. Will you stop?
I know,
but it's going to start.
It's close.
I'll tell you what. The close.
And you know what else is close is the African Cup of Nations, because I mean, we talk about Mo Salah maybe being on the bench tomorrow. It's not going to be long before we don't have him as an option. So it's like, I don't know. Do you flog him while you've got him? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think the conversations around any kind of January business are happening now.
Yeah.
They're going to be happening.
They're probably already done.
Yeah. Wouldn't surprise me if those conversations have already taken place. There's always going to be noise around Salah ever since he signed the contract. Is Saudi
protecting his value, if nothing else?
Yeah. Are the Saudis going to come for him in the summer? Probably.
There's always going to be that rumor.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be a tipping point where, like Bruno Fernandes to Manchester United last summer, there's going to be a time when Liverpool are going to say, yeah, it suits us.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, maybe
I think that they're more ruthless now than they were before.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that for a couple of players, especially, I mean, because we're talking some holes in this team. We're talking about big money needing to be spent. Like if you're talking Wharton or Baleba or Semenyo or any of these players, that's another big outlay.
Yeah.
And you're also
recoup.
Well, you're also talking about top four here. And this is probably a chat for another day because we're kind of going off on a tangent. But, there does come a point where we need to. That's not my dog, Kyle.
That's mine.
There does come a point where we need to consider making sure we get into top four with the wages that we got and the players that we got and things like that. So there may be a tipping point where big money does need to be spent in January, and that maybe means selling someone that we don't want to sell. So
I mean, I get the idea that people don't care about where we finish because of the summer.
We should care.
No, but because of what's happened this season.
That.
I get that. The reality is, and you hit the nail on the head, with the wage bill that we have, we cannot be outside the Champions League.
No, like we would actually be in big trouble.
We would
not
be in big trouble.
Huge trouble, but like.
Yeah, it's not something that we can sustain. No, we can't.
And it's not something that the club planned for. Like the way that they invested this past summer, they invested with almost the knowledge that top four won't even be an issue with the quality. Like it surely is enough. And maybe top five is good enough. I don't know. It depends on the coefficient.
It depends on how well clubs do throughout all of the European competitions. We won't know until the latter stages.
Don't bank on it though.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be banking on it. It's not a given the form of. I mean, Villa losing to Go Ahead Eagles, Palace losing to I think it was the Norwegian side that they lost to or something. It's not the case that, and I think both of those clubs should be winning their respective competitions that they're in, or at least getting to the latter stages of them. And I expect the Premier League clubs to do well in the Champions League this season, but I'd be surprised if a Premier League club won it, given what I've watched of PSG and Barcelona and Madrid this season. and Bayern to an extent. I mean, Bayern are on fire at the minute. So
they are.
but
I actually think that
it's form in November.
Brilliant.
It's form in November. Last November,
we were undefeated.
We were undefeated. City and Madrid and PSG were scratching about Champions League, and would one of them fall out, and what is going to be a catastrophe? What's this new format all about? And then suddenly
everything's still live. Like
exactly
all the possibilities are still live, and I think I understand mentally like throwing the towel in. I get it, but until things are mathematically impossible, like I'm just gonna hold off on making any sort of blanket statements because, like I said, we started the show off saying that if Villa can turn it around, we can absolutely turn it around, and I'm hoping that that's what we see tomorrow. Kev, is there anything else that we missed before we close the show out? I think checking out that Patreon link, Patreon link, whichever way it goes. Checking that out if you're in the chat. We kind of go into this stuff in a lot more detail on our Patreon, so that is always an option. We also talk about stuff it's just a little bit less heavy. So if you're interested in me kind of commenting on refs being shit for an hour, we do that. We talk about just kind of fun non-football stuff as well. Yeah. So it's something worth checking out if you're into it. It just helps the channel kind of keep going. And then we do have NordVPN as a sponsor, which I am supposed to remember to say, and I forgot today. So boo on me. But yeah, if you're looking for someone to kind of hook you up with a little bit of internet security, they are your people, and the link is down below.
Well, that's a point. I just quickly before we slip off.
Sure.
Tomorrow's game. No, I just want to have a look. I just had a quick look because I've been so focused on our games. And Sam made a point out, what are the other games tomorrow? Well, there's no 12:30 kickoff.
I can tell you. Yeah, well, that was supposed to be us, I think.
That was supposed to be us.
And then we got moved.
There's a lot of games tomorrow. Brighton against Leeds, Burnley, Arsenal, Palace, Brentford. That'll be tasty. Palace, Brentford. Fulham against Wolves. Wolves desperately need points in a biggest way. Fulham are in no kind of form at the minute. Forest against Manchester United is the TV game over here.
God, he's becoming like the second coming all of a sudden in 2 weeks.
Tottenham Chelsea 5:30.
That'll be a good one. That'll be
tasty. And then us against Villa.
Late game
is the late game. Sunday there's only 2 games. Okay. West Ham Newcastle. Oh, I'm definitely going to be watching that. Man City against Bournemouth.
That'll be interesting.
I can't believe. If you'd have said that to me 5 years ago, I'd have said, "What? They brought the third round of the they brought the third round of the FA Cup that far forward."
No, I mean that'll be a really interesting tactic.
Yeah, that'll be tasty because I like watching Areola's sides anyway. But
I think he's very smart. I think that again, not saying sack slot at all, but I think that if you were looking toward another manager, he would be the one.
There's going to be a lot of clubs looking at him, Glasner. And basically it's him and Glasner at the minute, isn't it?
I think the reason I lean toward him is just with the whole hierarchy, the way that he's worked with Hughes before, and they've got the whole band back together with Edwards and everyone kind of working behind the scenes. So yeah,
I'm not saying to see where he goes.
I'm not saying do it, but I'm just saying keep an eye there. All right. Well, I think that's enough of that. I'm going to go see if I have to fill up my candy bowl because I saw some trick-or-treaters go by. They may have stolen all of my Twizzlers. I'm not sure. I may have made a rookie mistake and just put all of the candy out while I was doing this show. So I don't know. I think I might have
I've literally just got a text message off my sister saying he was brilliant. Never laughed so hard from start to finish. She went up to Dublin to the 3 Arena tonight to see John Bishop live.
Oh.
And it's some like his 25th anniversary of being on the road. About accounts, she was saying he was absolutely hilarious. She was sending me pictures from inside the 3 Arena. It looked absolutely jammed. So
glad someone's having a good time this weekend, and hopefully
World Series
too tomorrow.
Yeah, World Series tonight. Toronto. 3-2.
See, that's where Matt is. Everyone wants to know where Matt is. Matt is watching the baseball. Because this is his thing.
Yeah, 3-2
and one of his teams is actually doing well.
Well, here's the thing. They're 3-2 up with a home game to win it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be huge.
If they win, I'm pretty sure Matt. I don't know.
Yeah, Matt's going on a 2-week
bender.
Like
a full bender, so you may never see Matt again.
bender.
I'm not sure, but yeah,
Anyway, guys, go on.
All
Enjoy the rest of your Halloween.
Kev,
Thanks very much for joining us. See you guys later. See you tomorrow night. Ta-da.
Okay. Bye, everyone.